Shall we do Le Weekend? So, Le Weekend, which is directed by Roger Michell and written by Hanif Qureshi, who worked together before on The Mother and Venus. And the story is Jim Broadbent and Lindsay Duncan are a long married couple who clearly, in the course of their marriage, have had, some underlying issues or whatever. And they've had children, the children have grown up, and the children have left the home. And they're sort of at a peculiar point in their life. And they decide they're going to go to Paris. They're revisiting the place where they were on honeymoon. And they're obviously trying to get away from it all and, to sort of find some sort of spark and the rest of it. Actually, what happens is that whilst they're in Paris, and this does have, I have to say, somewhat stagey or stage play sort of feel about it. Whilst they're there in Paris, all the old troubles and tensions all start to broil and come to a head. And so they basically do that thing that, I think a lot of couples do, is that they're in love, but they bicker. And then they question whether they're in love. And the whole thing is during the course of this sort of very tight 48 hours, they fall in and out of love with each other. He's got a problem with his job. He's a professor, but he teaches at a college, but he's fallen out of favour. And in fact, maybe even worse than that, because he's been incredibly misanthropic with his students. She's a teacher. She wants more from life than just this sort of wearying acceptance of everything. And then, in the middle of it all, they meet Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum is somebody who used to be taught by Jim Broadbent's character. And Jeff Goldblum, as he always does in these films, plays Jeff Goldblum. And he plays Jeff Goldblum really well. I mean, nobody plays Jeff Goldblum like Jeff Goldblum. And Jeff Goldblum says, "You must come to my apartment where I will be Jeff Goldblum."
Welcome here. Would you like some champagne? Please. Thank you. Come on in, come on in. I was worried you guys weren't going to make it. I almost had a thrombo. Come on, come on. There's some great people in here, and they're dying to meet you. I've been talking you up. Thank you, Stefan. I've been thinking about you all day.
Huh? Gorgeous hell is this? Let me see. Come on, go in. They're French. I'm sure their lives are awful too.
Don't leave me on my own.
Isn't that what you want?
There we are. I lost you. Come on in. I didn't see. Oh, look at that. Come on in. I'm going to introduce you. I didn't see that black lacy. I wish I had my sketch pad.
I was half expecting Jim Broadbent to go back into his filth character, just to surprise everyone at that party.
Yes, we're on our 30th wedding anniversary. Yes, but you know what I mean about Jeff Goldblum. There is no one else in the world who does, and it's clearly the case that when you. I think he's a very good actor, and I love him in things like The Fly. I think he was brilliant. I loved him in The Mad Monkey, a film which nobody can remember, even some of the people who are in it. But he does play Jeff Goldblum, and in this he plays Jeff Goldblum turned up to 11-10, and. What's interesting about the film is that it manages to get away with Jeff Goldblum playing Jeff Goldblum quite that much, and yet still retain at its heart something more. Because, as with their previous collaborations between Qureshi and Michelle, it does that thing about it is a comedy, but it's a kind of it's not a laugh out loud comedy. It's a comedy which has funny moments in it, but it's not specifically going for laughs. Although it does have, there is lots of jokes in it. It is basically going for that kind of underlying sense of darkness, that underlying sense of melancholy, that underlying sense that there is something profound at work here, which is to do with them looking at their relationship and going, well, how did we? It's almost like that thing in that David Byrne song, Talking Heads. How did we get here? Who are we? What do we mean to each other? What are we going to do? Is this all there is? And it's a great credit to Jim Broadbent and Lindsay Duncan that they managed to play those characters in a way which there's no sense of it being forced. They are both terrific performers. I mean, really, really good actors. And I've read a couple of interviews with Broadbent in which he says, I love the script because it explored areas that don't often get explored in cinema. I mean, what he meant was this idea that actually, they're middle-aged and up characters who still appear to have all the same desires and needs and wants and uncertainties and anguishes and worries as they always did, despite the fact that they've grown and matured and grown in and out of their relationship. He's still insanely jealous. She still wants more, and the film is not scared to delve into the intimacy of their relationship either. It doesn't have any sort of worry or concern about that. It's very, very frank about the physicality of their relationship, which is terrific. And, I have to say, I went in having seen the poster thinking, Le Weekend, brackets, The Weekend. It's like, no, really? Go figure. I thought it meant Wednesday. And I was completely won over by it. I mean, I thought it was funny. I asked James King about it afterwards, and he wasn't so charmed as I was. And I think, partly maybe it's an age thing, because obviously he's 4.
And you're near retirement.
And but I thought that the performances were really, really good. I thought it was a sense of just how strongly it was constructed, that when Jeff Goldblum came in doing Jeff, it didn't just throw everything apart. and it's not a film that shies away from the darker aspects of their relationship. And you do really get a sense of two people who have spent a long time together and are now at that point of wondering, what do we now mean to each other and what do we mean to ourselves, in a way that didn't seem, in any way contrived or cutesy, or, it just worked. It's like that thing in the Four Weddings and a Funeral. Laughter and tears, something for everyone, but not in a naff way.